Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CPA Lady Podcast. My name is Marjorie McPike. I am a CPA in Southern California, where I practice public accounting, tax, and accounting. My goal is to help make life less taxing. We have with us today Courtney Arrington. She is a CPA in Virginia and the owner of Arrington Solutions, LLC. And I will let Courtney tell you a little bit more about herself. Courtney?
Hi, thank you so much for having me today, Marjorie. So everyone, my name is Courtney Arrington, and like she said, I'm a CPA licensed here in Virginia. I own a virtual accounting practice where I help social media influencers and small business entrepreneurs called Arrington Solutions. I also have a blog slash YouTube channel called The Accounting Struggle, where I kind of speak to new accountants and accounting students just to try to help them get acclimated into the field of accounting. And I just recently started working full-time in my business, so I'm very excited about that. But I did get my start in public accounting. So I have a few years of accounting experience under my belt, both industry and public. So it's very exciting times.
Okay. So you graduated from college in 2016?
Yes,
Okay.
I graduated from VCU,
Mhm.
Virginia Commonwealth University in 2016 with my bachelor's in accounting. And I started studying for the CPA exam right out of college. And I actually worked directly in, like right out of college, I went into full-time. I started out in tax. So I was in public accounting full-time at a regional firm.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So did you do any accounting work before while you were in school?
I did. I did 2 accounting internships actually. So the first internship I did in 2015 with a regional accounting firm, where they basically in that internship they give you exposure to audit and tax.
Mhm.
So that was when I realized I'm definitely tax and not audit. So I did that for a summer, and then my senior year in college, I did another internship, and that one was just for tax, but it was during tax season. So it was their busy season internship. It was great because I got so much exposure. I was doing actual tax returns, and that was like really interesting and so helpful because I was taking an advanced tax course that semester too.
Okay.
So it was great exposure. And then I actually got hired full time at that firm and started working for them for a few years in their tax practice.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So what type of returns did you prepare while you were at that firm?
Well, as an intern, they give you anything that's categorized as easy. So if it's a basic 1040 individual return or a basic 1041, they will give you that kind of stuff. Or they might give you a small partnership or like a small 1040 that maybe has a Schedule C if someone owns, a small business. Nothing too complex. But literally my first week full time,
Mhm.
hit the floor running. They gave me this huge construction company, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. So I worked on everything from construction to real estate. I did focus a lot in nonprofits. That was the bulk of what I did. So a lot of foundations, a lot of colleges and universities, that kind of work. And then I did some manufacturing companies as well. So I got a mix of everything. The good thing about public is you get to kind of expand and see everything in public accounting. So you
Right,
can kind of get a feel for what you like and what you don't like.
right, right. That's true. And that's why I like public accounting as well, is because you're not doing the same thing all the time. You're being able to see different clients and different scenarios, and it keeps you on your toes, right?
Absolutely. It
Mhm.
does. And the thing is that even if you're in the same industry, like with nonprofit accounting, for example, it's so broad still. I mean, there's governmental, there's bigger nonprofit clients, and then there's smaller ones too. So it's still a lot of variety even within a niche. So that was nice, especially with real estate too. There's so many different types of real estate clients. You have people who invest, then you have people who are developers. So there's just a lot of different variety, and you could never get bored.
Right, right. And I heard you say 1041, so you've gotten some exposure with trust returns. Could you
A
share?
little,
Yeah.
definitely my least favorite.
Really?
I was like, oh, I don't think this is me. But it's always good to get that exposure because it is important to kind of see what, at least be familiar enough with the language of it and kind of the whole process and layout. But I knew it was not something that I would be interested in specializing in.
Okay.
Is that your focus? Is that your area?
I like
Oh,
states and trust, so yeah.
okay. It's very important for sure. I think that
It
it's incredibly important. And I feel like if you have that skill set, you definitely want to hone in on that. But for me, it just didn't speak to my spirit.
I understand. I understand. So what made you decide to go out on your own?
Well, I left public accounting in 2019 and I went into industry. So I
Mhm.
was working in industry because I was like, public accounting, I love it, but the hours were so intense. And I wanted a variety. I wanted a change. I thought that I wanted to get away from something and do something that was more narrow focused and
Mhm.
just a little bit more specific. And I thought industry was the perfect opportunity to do that. So I went into working for a large insurance company in their investment group.
Mhm.
So even though I was accounting, I wasn't doing any tax at all. It was just all like we manage an investment portfolio. So all the accounting for the investment portfolio is what I was focused on. And I really did like that because it gave me more of like it was like everybody on my team came from audit. So it was a totally different feel. It helped me to develop way different skills, which was great. But I missed tax. I had like family and friends and people in the community reaching out to me like, hey, could you do my taxes? And at this point, I'm like, well, sure, it's not a conflict of interest anymore. I actually have a little bit of weekend time. Yeah, sure, I can do that. And then I started doing it on the side while I was working in corporate, and it kind of became full blown. Like within a year, I mean, I started probably this time last year really being serious about it and being intentional, and it took over my full-time job, and it's gotten to a point where I had to make a decision. So I love doing it so much, I decided that that's where I wanted to focus.
Awesome. Awesome. That's very, so how long have you been on your own?
So my last day with my corporate job is in 3 weeks. So
It's been 3
yes,
weeks.
yes, it's in 3 weeks. So I still am working in corporate, but I've been working in my business for over a year now.
Wow.
So I've been doing both, which has been extremely intense,
Right.
especially because with all the 2020 stuff, that was intense. But then the beginning of this year with this tax season and all the changes and all the PPP stuff, it's really been a lot to keep up with. And so, yeah, it's been a lot.
That's a
So I've
lot.
been doing both full time essentially because it left being a side hustle for a while ago. It's been a
Mhm.
full-time business for a while now.
Wow. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. Congratulations on that. And then
Thank you.
congratulations on being able to just resign, say.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It definitely is a blessing, especially given the times that we're in. I'm very grateful. Definitely.
Okay, awesome. So what type of clients do you work with?
So my focus is small business entrepreneurs, specifically people who make money on social media. So social media influencers are people who do things like have YouTube channels or blogs, or maybe they make video content for social media like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. A lot of people I feel like that was a niche that was almost like, I don't want to say ignored, but I don't think people were thinking of it as an industry. Like if they came to them needing help, they would probably take them on as a client. But I didn't see a lot of people marketing specifically to them. I didn't see a lot of accounting guidance specifically speaking to the nature of that type of industry.
Mhm.
And because I'm on social media and I have my YouTube channel and I'm just very active on social media, I was like, oh, well, these are my people. These are the people I want to talk to. And these are the people that I want to help. I know they're making money and they probably don't have a lot of guidance on how to manage the money that, the income that they're making, and understanding that it is a business. Even though you're the brand, you're still a business. So that was why I wanted to work with social media influencers. I mean, I do take clients outside of that, of course, too, but that's my focus.
Mhm. So with social media influencers, because you said something about them being a brand, so they probably, you probably find ways for them to deduct things that are not common to an ordinary business person. Say for instance,
Right.
a photo shoot or makeup or
Exactly.
something like that.
Yes. Yes. So for instance, there's one client that I had that they use their dog a lot in their videos. A lot of their video content involves their pet, which they bought specifically for making videos. So that was something that I'm like, well, that's an ordinary and necessary expense for the type of video content that you produce. There are actually cats, there are actually pets that have their own, TikToks and their own Instagrams that are like famous pets. So that in and of itself could be a business. It's all in what you need for your specific business. So we work within the laws of we work within the law, of course, but there are things that are not as cut and dry that you would see in a typical business, and that a lot of people forget about or don't think about because they don't realize that it's something that they have to do for their video content, and that is considered a business expense.
That's good. So if you were to kind of give someone a tip that's a social media influencer or that's kind of starting a business and doing that, like what would you suggest? Because people always come to me and they're like, well, is this a business expense? Is that a business expense? And I'm kind of like, well, track everything and then I'll tell you if it's not. Right.
Right.
Better than to not track it. Right.
Absolutely. That's my same advice. I'm like, it's better to have everything. And then I can sift through and say no to this. But if you don't tell me, I'm not going to know. So tell me everything you bought. I just want my clients to know. I want to be on you like white on rice. I want to know everything that you have done. If you made a purchase, I want to know about it. If you're thinking about making a purchase, I want to know about it. I feel like there are sometimes people who want to be a little hands off, or they feel like, ooh, she's in my business too much. If that's how you feel, I'm not the accountant for you, because I need to be all in your business so that I can help you and partner with you, because we're supposed to work together.
Right.
So my advice to people is really to track everything and take it seriously. This is a business, especially if this is your primary source of income. Don't just think of it as like, oh, the money's hitting my account every month, I can just spend it. You have to pay taxes, you have deductions and things that you need to factor in. So please just track, even if you're not ready to pay an accountant, or you don't feel ready to pay an accountant, at least track the income and the expenses yourself. Track every dime and keep all of your personal and business separate.
Yeah. Can you say that?
That's the part that's hard for them. They really struggle with that part. So any income that you get for your business and any expenses that you spend in your business need to be kept completely separate from your regular everyday stuff. And that's the part that people struggle with the most, but it's like one of the most important things.
It's one of the most important things, right? Right. So just kind of elaborate on why it's so important, because I say this all the time. But
yes. So it's important for a number of reasons. Number one, it helps to really see how your business is actually performing. When you have everything commingled, it's difficult to see what are the true sources of your income and what is your actual bottom line, because you have so many your personal light bill and all this stuff is mixed in. So you think you're losing more money than you actually have in real business expenses. So you can't really make business decisions because you don't know what your numbers truly are. So that's one reason. More importantly, the other reason is the IRS will come and get you. If you get audited, you have to have things separate, especially if you have a setup as an LLC. In order to actually have that limited liability, you cannot commingle funds, because once you start commingling funds, whether you're an LLC or not, they're going to say, oh, it's all one thing because you spend all of it. It's all going and coming out of the same pot. So for legal reasons, you have to keep it separate. And for being able to make decisions on how your business is doing and whether or not you can afford things, the only way to know that is to keep it all separate.
Keep it all separate. Right. Right.
And because I said so.
Because you said so. Because it makes it easier for me, right?
Yes, please help us.
Help us out, right? It's challenging going through, bank statements or QuickBooks transactions. It's like, okay, this looks personal, this looks business, this looks personal, and then you end up with so much personal, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing I was going to say is that it's easier because we find a lot of people where they don't track their information at the same time. They kind of wait. And at the end of the year, it's harder for you to remember what you spent something for or the reason why you spent it compared to if you're tracking it right at that same time.
Exactly. And one of the things I see, like this year, I had a lot of big cleanup projects where people were like, it's been 2 or 3 years, I haven't done anything. Here are
Yeah.
my bank statements, please help me, because the IRS is sending me notices. And so with those, one of the recurring issues that I see all the time is Cash App and Venmo and Zelle. If
Oh,
we could just pull over for just a second to talk about
yes, let's talk about that.
so if it is, 2021, and in 2019 or in 2018, I'm looking at your stuff, your statements, and you have 700 transactions, and it all says Cash App to Lil Mo, Cash App to John, you're not going to remember what that was for.
Right.
So if you're paying people or you're receiving money via Cash App, it's going to come in as that person's name on
Mhm.
Cash App. It's not going to come in as an actual vendor expense. So the problem is, I don't know what that was for. If I see all Stripes or all PayPal deposits, I'll know those are sales, but there's no way to really differentiate if this person was someone who was giving you money for dinner because y'all split a bill, or if this was an actual thing that you purchased or got money for in your business. And now it's been 2 years, you don't remember.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me, oh, it's just this, put it under that, but you don't really know.
Mhm.
So that's one reason why I hate those. They're also not super safe for business purposes.
Right.
They're also not professional. And I really truly hate them so much. Like, I hate seeing that on someone's business account. I know it's one way that you feel like you can avoid the fees, but honestly, I really want to see clients not use that stuff anymore. So I feel like I got so passionate about that. I don't even remember the original question. But oh yes, if you wait too long, you're gonna forget things and how to categorize them appropriately. But also it's too late to fix anything because now all the damage is done.
Okay.
So if we're halfway through the year and we're doing your books and we see, oh wow, 16% of your revenue is going towards product, maybe you should get it to, if this was your original budget was, only 10%, maybe we need to get that down.
Right.
Now you have time to correct because you still have half the year left. But if you
Right.
wait until after the fact, you're like, dang, I spent way too much money on that supplier. I need to try and find another supplier for next year.
Right.
So,
right. Or to activate tax plan. It's like, 'cause you can't
exactly.
do anything for the prior year, right?
Right. What's done is done.
Right.
And I
now
get
is
so
the time to
many,
start tax planning.
for tax planning, I think that people don't understand how key it is to be doing active real-time bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is something that I feel like is often just not talked about when it comes to business. I hear people talking about taxes, but never bookkeeping. But if you have a business, you have to have bookkeeping. It's not optional. And I get a lot of people who will come to me after the fact when it's time to do taxes, and they'll say, gosh, well, why do I have to pay so much, and Amazon didn't pay this or Trump didn't pay that. And I'm like, they did planning all year. They had time to make strategies. It's too late for you.
They
What's
had
done
an
is
accounting
done.
department, right?
They had and they paid them. They don't care how much their CPA charges them.
Right.
They're saving them millions in taxes, so they don't care what the bill says. They pay it and they plan and they turn in what they're supposed to turn in at the time they're supposed to do it. So it's too late to employ strategies the next year in April. If you come to me April 10th, it's too late. There's nothing we could do. All you can do is pay the bill.
Right. All you can do is pay the bill. Yeah.
That's it.
All you can do is pay the bill. So you talked about the cleanup projects, because I know I saw a lot of that this year as well, multiple years, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then like I've had someone even tell me, it's like, oh, had I done this last year, I would have approached it differently, approached 2020 this year. But so I know we talk about QuickBooks and tracking. Do you have any other suggestions or ways that people can track? Because a lot of times, like you said, people don't want to pay. The CPAs we know are underpaid and under-respected, I would say, right? They will pay a lawyer bill faster than they will pay a CPA bill, right?
Yeah. I don't think they realize the value. That's probably why.
They don't realize the value. Okay. So how do we change that? And I guess that kind of points to the accounting struggle. Does that take us to there?
Well, kind of, yes. I mean, one of the things that I kind of speak about a lot on the accounting struggles, more so geared towards accountants, but really I want to start creating more content focused for people who need accounting and just helping them to understand the value of it and the importance of it. Because like you said, people know, okay, I'm in trouble, I need a lawyer, they're going to help me, I have to pay whatever they want to charge me. But a lot of times we're so reactive to things instead of like when you start a business, that's when you need an attorney, that's when you need an accountant.
Right.
It's not like, oh, now the IRS is sending me letters, now I'm in trouble, now I need help, because again, now it's too late to really do anything and to get out in front of these issues. So I think that if people had a better understanding of like the value of the work that we do, a lot of people hear CPA and they're like, oh, taxes, which of course me and you, we do taxes, but that's not all you can do as an accountant. So in the accounting struggle, I talk about all the different careers you can have in accounting, and some of them have nothing to do with tax, but they all add so much value to the actual business. And no matter what industry you're in, no matter what size your business or what stage it's in, accounting is a part of it. Whether you're doing it or not, it is a part of it. So there is no business that exists that does not need or have some sort of accounting. It just doesn't exist. It's the backbone of any business. So if people had a better understanding of like what value we bring to the table, how we help you to increase your bottom line, how we help to save you money on your taxes, and how we help you to reach your goals financially overall, if people really understood that, and I think they would be more willing and more eager to go out and get that help early on.
So we have to explain to them and show them the value of having a CPA.
Yes.
Do you find that people are, I don't want to say intimidated, or just kind of unsure of the process? Because a lot of times people don't do something because they don't know, or they don't know what to expect. So like how is it working with you? What's your process when you take on a new client and you start working with them?
And I think that that's one of the reasons why I like to work with the area that I work in. These are not necessarily I'm not saying they're not business savvy, but these are not people who have that much exposure. Oftentimes they're new business entrepreneurs, they're first generation, and they are just like, I don't know, the internet told me I need an accountant, so that's why I'm here. That might be the first thing they say. And so I try to be patient and educate them as a part of my service. So education is really important. I'm not going to just send you an email like, hey, here's your profit and loss statement, do with it what you will. I actually take the time to sit down with my clients and go over everything that's on there, help them understand what the numbers mean, help them understand why it's important. Because if I understand it and they don't understand it, then there's no real value. Like, they're the ones who are going to go out and get that business loan. I'm not going to be there. So they have to understand their numbers. And I think anybody who owns a business should at least know at any given point what their average revenue is, or where they are for the year, or at least a roundabout number. And so for me, I'm just all about making sure I help them understand what it is I'm doing and how we're supposed to work together to achieve certain goals. That's like the most important thing, because it's not common sense. And a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. So I try to be not as judgmental, although I do have my moments. I just try to like really help people and be patient and just explain things to them in a way that's like layman's terms. My goal is not to make you feel like you're not as smart as me, because you are smarter than me and you're the expert in what you do, but this is my expertise. And so let's, bridge that gap.
And I like that. Because just a little shameless plug here, but I wrote a course. It's called Understanding My Taxes, and it was geared for individuals, but it just goes over the different types of tax returns, or types of entities. So like a sole proprietorship, how that's going to affect your individual return, a partnership, a S corp, and it kind of just helps people, just kind of goes over the basic income tax return, because I feel as though it's important for people to know what's on your return, why you're having to pay, and what you can do different,
Absolutely.
And just having that relationship. But even if you have someone do it, I feel as though you should still understand what's going on and be able to check it, because you're also signing off on that return too, right? As an individual,
yeah,
definitely, that
definitely.
is correct. So but I think education is the key. We have to continue to educate and educate. So we talked about Venmo. Can we just touch on PayPal? What's been your experience with PayPal?
Okay, so PayPal, as it pertains to QuickBooks, is a very hot mess. It gets the processing, and the reason why is because PayPal is both a bank essentially and a processor. It's like a payment processor and it can hold the money. So it gets real tricky in QuickBooks. If you're managing your own QuickBooks and you have your PayPal linked as one of your banks, you have to get on YouTube and really sit down and watch those videos to understand it, because you will duplicate transactions and you will record things wrong, because PayPal is very tricky in QuickBooks. However, I do like PayPal as a payment processor. They do take forever to release your money now. If you need your money today, don't use PayPal. But I like PayPal as a payment processor because for one, it's almost always one of the payment options. When you go to a website, there's usually like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. So it's nice to be able to just easily check out. So it's a good option for your clients or people who you're selling to, which I do like that. And then I find it to be one of the more safer platforms, and it's actually like PayPal for business. So it's not just like your personal PayPal, which Cash App does offer a business for Cash App, but I prefer Square. If you're going to use something, just get the little thing that you hook to your phone and just use Square. Because again, Cash App doesn't come through on the statement as anything that's easily identifiable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So with your clients, what type of tax planning strategies do you do? Tax planning strategies? I'm sure you do.
I do. So I do quarterly tax planning with my clients, especially my bookkeeping clients, and then some of my higher earning individuals who I do 1040 work for. But as far as like tax planning strategies, I do sit down with them and go over their options with them, especially people who are going to have a huge bill at the end of the year. We talk about some of the things they're potentially missing, what they could do differently if they're in the right taxing structure. I have a ton of people who are, this whole LLC S Corp thing is getting very popular on the internet. And so I have a lot of people who are like, oh, I need to be an S Corp. And I'm like, looking at their numbers and I'm like, no, you don't. And then there are a ton of people who don't know anything about being an S Corp, but they're an LLC and that's all they know. That's where they started and stopped, but they're making tons of money, tons of net profit. And so just introducing them to different taxing structures and different ways that they can save on their taxes and what all the pieces of the puzzle are. Like if you have your own business, but maybe your partner, someone you're married to, or you have children, these are also things that are going to impact your final tax bill. So we try to get all of that information into the picture and just plan all throughout the year so that we're not hit with any surprises like, oh no, now I have to pay $50,000 and I didn't know that was going to happen and I don't have it. We don't ever want that.
You don't ever want that. Right. I like the plan throughout the year. Plan throughout the year, always be looking at your finances to see where you are, if you need to pivot, especially with the you're like an LLC, is it time to become an S Corp? Should you be paying yourself a salary? How much are you making? So
right. And coming up with a salary that's reasonable, something that isn't going to get you into hot water with the IRS. I'm always trying to talk to my clients like I'm an IRS auditor, and sometimes it could be a little much for them. I had a client tell me before, I feel like you're the feds. I don't mean to be that way, but I don't like to be unrealistic with them. I don't want to sell them a bunch of lies and say, oh yeah, write off everything, your work clothes, all this random stuff that I know could potentially hurt them down the line. So I try to ask them or think like a little bit more prudent, a little bit more conservative. Of course, we're going to work within the bounds, but I just don't want people to end up 5 or 6 years down the line saying, oh, Courtney misled me.
Right. That's and have something on the return that they can't support. So
right.
That's a big one.
That is the biggest thing. If you can't back it up, even if it's true, it doesn't mean anything. You have to be able to back it up.
You have to be able to back it up. And that's a good thing too with keeping track of things now, right?
Right.
Where you can document what it is that was done. I know someone was telling me that someone said, take a picture of your office, like your home office. It's like, take a picture of it. and save it
Yeah.
so that if anything ever came up with the IRS, you can actually prove to them, hey, I had an office space. You know, then the more documentation that you have, the more they're going to back off, right?
Right. Yeah, if your numbers, if everything is solid and intact, there's really not much argument. But if it's you against them and they've been doing this for 50 years and you're like this 21-year-old person who's a TikTok star who's like, I thought I could write off all this stuff. I'm sorry. Like, there is going to be so easy for them to chew you up and spit you out if you don't know and you don't have support, and it's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's definitely not.
So let's talk about the accounting struggle. We kind of touched on it a little bit, and I'm a part of an organization. It's called the Alliance of Black Women Accountants, and we were formed for the purpose of mentoring, empowering, and supporting women of color in the accounting and finance profession. So that I like the accounting struggle. I like that you are doing that, and I like that there are so many of us that are trying to reach us that have done it, because you usually don't find too many mentors.
No.
So.
No. So it's especially like, okay, now post 2020 and all of the uprising and all of that, of course people are talking about it a little bit more, the whole like underrepresentation and let's get things to be more diverse and all of that, and that's great. But I started getting into the accounting industry in 2015 is when I did my first internship in public accounting. My first internship, I remember going to my intern class, like we have this big get together at the end of the internship. It was in Folly Beach, and I went and I was so excited. There were probably like 75 interns, maybe even 100. There were 2 of us who looked like me. And I was like, ooh, I stand out here. I never realized I stood out that much. So definitely there isn't a lot of diversity. Even still, there's a long way to go and a lot of opportunity. It's still very much an industry that is predominantly white, predominantly male, and yeah, just not a whole lot of diversity. So for me, when I first started the accounting struggle, it was honestly just because I needed to find other people who were struggling with accounting, literally how it sounds. I started in 2017 or 2016 when I first started working, because I was like, oh my God, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I did well in school, I did well in the internship, and now they're giving me these big projects and I cannot keep up. I can't be the only person struggling with this. So for me, whenever I kind of learned a new thing or had like an aha moment at work, I would write about it. And then I started documenting my CPA journey. So when I first graduated, I took 2 sections of the CPA exam and I passed them. It was fine. And then I started working full time and I was like, okay, just 2 more and then I'm done. Oh my God, those last 2, it was such a disaster. Like I kept failing. Then the ones that I passed had expired. It was just around and around and around and around. And I was talking about that on my accounting YouTube channel the whole time. I was just like, yeah, I failed, but this is what I did to prepare for my retake. And this is what worked for me. Here are all the study skills that didn't work. Here are the study skills that do work. So the accounting struggle for me is almost like, it's like service work. I just want people to learn from my mistakes. I've made so many and will continue to make some. So I want to share like victories, but I also want to share like things to watch out for, because I don't think it should be lonely. For me, it was a very lonely experience. I felt like everybody in my firm was just so high achieving and just of a different life and background. And I felt like, oh, I'm like the lonely, the homely person who just can't get it together. I feel so bad about this. And some of that was probably just me being dramatic, but a lot of it was real. And so I wanted to just kind of share that for other people and be visible to them, to the people who are not acing it, the people who are failing multiple times, just to help them understand like this happens, but you can pass. Just keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. That's awesome. And I like that you write about it, because my CPA journey wasn't easy, but I never wrote about it. You know,
because there's so much shame. There's so much shame. Like everyone's asking you, how did you do? Did you pass? Did you pass? It's score day. And you're like, no, I didn't.
And because you have to be intense and intentional when you're studying, and really focused. And life happens. It's like I recall studying for the CPA exam, and I would be at a football game with my son. Because I had to, I still had to be a mom, but
Right.
and then I was still working, but I was still becoming a CPA. So the pass and the fail and all that stuff, I know all about it.
Yeah.
I actually talked about it on she's called the Black CPA Lady. Have you met her, Jacqueline Anderson?
No, I have not.
I'm going to connect the two of you guys, because she
Okay.
has a YouTube channel, and she just talks about the challenges of becoming a CPA and what it means to you and stuff like that. So I was on her YouTube channel, and I actually kind of dug through, how many times I took the exam, and, did I pass and did I fail and all that. And I was telling her about, I actually passed audit. Like it was the last one I needed to take. I passed audit, but they told me I failed it. And so
that is a different type of evil.
So they told me I failed. And so I lost credit on BEC. So I had to retake BEC, which I did. But then when I took audit again, I got like a 74. And so then I had to take audit another time. And then I passed it and got like an 80 something. But then right after I passed it, I got a letter saying, hey, you actually passed it.
I would have been so done. Oh my God. I could not imagine passing it and being like, you have to take it again. Oh, wait, sorry, to make you do all that.
Yeah.
Our bad.
Our bad.
Wow.
Who's auditing? What it was. Our bad.
Who is auditing the scores? That's crazy. Wow.
But it just shows perseverance, right?
Right. I feel like that's a huge part of the exam process. It almost has less to do with the exam skill set, and just, I feel like there are some people who think that it's something that you should be doing in your strategy. Some of it is really just, is it your exam? Is this the one that you're going to pass? And are you going to have the wherewithal to keep going if you didn't pass? Right. I feel like that's a huge part of it. It's like a test of your strength. So for me, failing was the best thing that could have ever happened in my life. The repeated failures really taught me a lot about who I am and how I view things and how I approach challenges, how I overcome them. So if I had not done all of that, I probably would not have the bravery to be like, I'm going to work full-time for myself. I know I wouldn't, but I've already seen what the repeated failure looks like. I already felt and experienced what it feels like to fail. So I know if I fail, that's never the end unless I just stop there.
Yes.
So it's fine.
That's so good.
Thank you.
It's never the end unless you stop there. Yeah. Very, very cool. That's a good place. So even in accounting and finance, your business, I see great things happening for you.
Thank you.
Great niche. Social media influencers. There are a lot of people out there making money, and that's kind of when I started getting involved on social media and wanting to write the course or wanting to educate people, because you saw in 2020 so many people making money. And it's like, your tax bill next year is not going to be pretty.
No, and they have no idea. You're telling them and they're like, what? I have to pay taxes? And it's like, yes, girl, you made $500,000.
Yes. The 500,000 is good, but yeah, Uncle Sam wants theirs.
Absolutely. And they will get it. That's the thing that you have to understand. We're not outsmarting them. They've been doing this a long time. Yeah.
Awesome. Courtney, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up? Any tips, tricks, suggestions, anything?
Honestly, I feel like just when it comes to accounting and the whole journey, whether it's working for yourself, studying, whatever it is, whatever part of it, I think that it's going to look different for everybody. So just, know your journey is personal, and be okay with every part of it, because each part of it is teaching you something. So
awesome.
It's like my final word.
That's cool. That applies both to business owners and accounting students. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being with me today, Courtney. To all my YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. right? And if you have any questions, I will leave Courtney's information below, my information below, and thank you so much for watching and listening. Oh.